For the upcoming 5-9 full moon of my randomized run, we decide to attempt the floor 11 gatekeeper when a special guest named the Lover's Arcana decides to show up. Though, fun fact, Lovers does not fight back, so yeah. Most free XP I've ever seen. On floor 12 lies the Golden Hand tutorial, in which Edelgard hilariously explains what they are, as if we haven't massacred its family already. However, since it's a randomizer, we get introduced to Giga Cupid, which dies in one hit. Anyways, our next target is the floor 17 gatekeeper, and I'll let it speak for itself.
Help me! Help me!
We push on until we reach the border floor on floor 22, and since we cannot continue forward, it's time for some Mishigugi grinding. I decided to grab the locked chest that I missed, as well as reaching level 49 for Zyodine, which is SP efficient by the very high number of 2. I decided to leave Tataris and go to the 5-9 full moon. This will be the first big roadblock, because if I can't get past this, all of the days I grinded will be for nothing. For my first attempt at the 5-9 full moon of my randomized run, the first few scrub fights on the train crash if they're randomized, so the normal enemies fill in. However, the boss is still randomized, which is our main target, and this happens. From here on out, I will introduce my list of folders for this run. Old Rize is our original file that we started on. Since an unskippable encounter crashed, we will now re-randomize the file, but not our persona, and we keep our progress. Later on, you will see that I make about 7 folders that show my deteriorating sanity trying to complete this run. I cycle these out each time the game crashes, however I soon realize I can go back to Old Rize once the encounter is over. We end up not crashing and are introduced to the first full moon boss. A table. With hands! Unironically, this table is stronger than the full moon boss that's actually here.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, this table knows Hamon, which is a 40% chance to just kill me, and with no homunculus for sacrifice yet, I have no way of preventing it, and I end up dying to Mahama.
You fool! Holy!
After a few deaths, I realized that this fight is borderline impossible with my current setup, and I'm going to need to do something else to get past it. I switched back to Old Rize, and after running around Tartarus for a bit, I ran into exactly what I needed. Yes, your eyes don't deceive you, that's Hermit! You know, one of the late game full moon bosses. And fun fact about Hermit, when it's not charged up, it can only use Zio and Mazio, both skills of which Mishigugi naturally blocks. However, the problem was the conviction sword that was there. Despite my attempts of degenerate tree strats, I get doubled by the Tempest Slash and die once more. After being mercilessly Tempest Slashed to death a dozen times, this happens.
Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Zyodine. Oh my gosh.
Nicely done.
Oh. You fool.
With that, it's time to introduce you to Hermit's Gambit, and enjoy this 20 times sped up video. I decided I wanted to split the XP with Junpei and No Name, yet despite this, I accidentally commit to an in-game reenactment of Icarus and failed horribly. Luckily, this was still a huge win for the team that resulted in 39k XP, putting us from level 30 to 43. However, more importantly, I got the skill card Mudo, and oh man, when I say this is probably our biggest break yet, I do mean biggest. Yes, that's right, Conviction Sword is in fact weak to Dark, meaning that Dark insta-kill is the right man for the job. Now, it just came down to playing Hermit's Gambit again a few more times for level 48, level 50, and 52, getting no strike in the process. For my second attempt at the 5-9 full moon of my randomized run, I decided that level 52 was good enough to attempt the table once more, and so I leave Tartarus and prepare for war. While I was contemplating how to beat this boss, Rize decided to become Weave Nation certified, making this entire encounter a joke. With 21k XP in my back pocket, putting us to level 53, we push on as we can officially say the run is not dead. Since we've gotten past the first full moon boss, we gain a new persona with a new skill. This time our gambling efforts have rewarded us with Metatron, a very much in-game persona rewarded to us from Aegis, as well as Diamond Dust as the random skill. Moving on, we go talk to Elizabeth, who gives us free money for menial tasks, then we increase our stats with the arcade on our off days, focusing mainly on strength and magic. Considering I don't have infinite money, I soon realize that I'll need to work on days that I'm not using stat boosts to accommodate. We continue through the days and some plot happens, Ryoji jump scares us again, we join the student council, and hear about a suspicious ghost story at school that this chick is way too invested in and drags everyone into it. I decide to head into Tataris to level up Akihiko, considering we'll be down one party member on the 6-8 full moon. While doing this, I figured we should check out the floor 28 gatekeeper, and yeah, unfortunately for us, we ran into strength alongside a really annoying samurai. So instead of subjecting myself to torture, I realized that to win this battle, I'll probably need to unlock the Theurgies. For the upcoming 6-8 full moon in my randomized run, I decide to leave Tataris because grinding is cringe. I meet up with third best girl, Odagiri, and a girl that suspiciously looks like a character from the school trip in Persona 4 Golden, a game with an arguably better plot.
Enemy spotted.
Since we are just a figurehead for the group that just goes along with whoever speaks the loudest, we follow random girl and best boy Junpei into this alleyway, in a very funny scene when sped up where they all just stand around and don't say anything for a good few seconds, and then Junpei just randomly gets hit. We run into third best boy Shinji for the second time, and become a wage slave once more. More plot happens when we find out there's a famous YouTuber trapped inside Tataris that we must go rescue before it's too late. We execute a plan that honestly has way too many flaws to even be considered coherent, and launch ourselves up into Tataris. We got separated and then reunite with our team, which we are then introduced to Berlizzi.
It is hot as hell in this funky ass, hot ass room I'm in.
We hand Berlin a gun, fourth best boy Akihiko makes a comment on the moon suspiciously being full, and then we run downstairs to see our backup squad has collapsed. As this fight is heavily scripted, serving as Berlizzi's awakening, the randomizer hates it. Ironically enough, all these folders come from this one fight and me trying to see if it was actually broken or not. We fold Emperor and Empress in 4 hits and continue on with our conquest. We continue through the days like usual, doing either random social links or leveling up strength and or magic, because the arcade is busted. After using up all our money, we sell some stuff so that we can take on the Wild Duck Burger Challenge, and we keep on pushing. On 6/11 we get a notification that Navi is getting released from the hospital today, which brings us to our first glaring roadblock. Up to this point you may have been thinking, oh, because he got to level 50 so fast this challenge is going to be boring for the rest of the video. But no one was prepared for what came next. Leading up to 6/13 in my randomized run, since the gang's all here, the chairman decides to introduce Theurgies to us, which if you recall is what I need to be able to progress through Tataris. The team decides to suit up in fancy gear, knowing full well they've never done anything like this before. We swap some gear and get ready to head inside. Now typically this section wouldn't be an issue. Normally you fight some low level enemies just to progress this part of the game. However, the randomizer had something different for us in mind, and I'll just let it speak for itself. No crash? Okay. Ota!
I'm in the house like carpet, and if there's too many heads in my blunt, I won't spark it. I'll put it in my pocket and save it like rocket fuel.
That's right, we have Scarlet Turret, known for being insanely DPS heavy, Hermit, which wouldn't be an issue if we weren't forced to bring literally worst girl, and of course, Nyx. Now ironically enough, my only two main concerns at first were the turret and Hermit. Nyx doesn't actually attack, following the trend of certain boxes with janky AI. So you would think this is free. However, we run into our first really unique issue of the run. After suffering due to being humbled by the randomizer, we're finally able to whittle down the turret, and I realized after bumbling around a little bit that the game does not like it if Nyx's model is in the background while there is only one enemy remaining. At first I thought this just meant I had to re-randomize the fight, but actually there was another solve to it. If I were to kill both the Hermit and Nyx at the same time, would it still crash? I didn't know, and so I tested out. I died again, and again, and again in attempts to test my theory, and then... For all the marbles, let's see.
I'm so smart! My brain is the most massive brain that is to ever grace existence.
After feeding levels to Mitsuru, we continue on to the second fight. Due to previous experience that will unfortunately become long forgotten due to time, I know that the first and third fight are the same, and that so long as the second fight doesn't crash, we should be in the clear. We sift through the bots and continue on to the third fight, which is literally just the first, but now Mitsuru has Maracunda, making it significantly faster. After getting a lucky dizzy, the fight went just like last time, with Mitsuru also getting this XP. Since the actual Theurgy fight, in which Worst Girl finally tries to be useful, cannot be randomized, this fight is essentially just a scripted victory lap for us, as we successfully gotten through the Theurgy roadblock, and finally get to move on past 6/13.